Hi all! So this is kind of the unboxing video that I promised you. So actually we have Maria and I
Hello.
have been trying to record this video for like the better part of this afternoon. We have actually recorded it twice. And my computer crashed or it wouldn't process the video. So this is our third time, but we're gonna try and make this as exciting as the first time we opened this box. And Marie very nicely rearranged all of the books into a random order that I don't know about while I was out of the room. So at least that much is gonna be kind of new and unusual. So anyway, yeah. So I'm gonna give a little background to this entire deal. Because I know that I keep getting questions about it and I don't think I was clear. So I was really interested in getting some used romance novels for a while. I don't have a big fiction collection in as far as like actual physical books go. Most of my fiction is digital, but I did want to get more actual physical romance novels. And originally I wanted to go to a used bookstore and pick some up like just randomly that looked good off the shelves. Used, but we unfortunately do not have a used bookstore in the town. We don't have any bookstore of any sort here. So I was like, well, I can look for it online, and then I kind of forgot that. And then last weekend, I don't even remember how, but last weekend I kind of like stumbled across this lot of 35 historical romance books, and it was a mystery box. So when I bought it, didn't know what books were going to be in it, what authors were going to be in it. The only thing that the seller told me was that there was going to be 35. There were going to be historical romance. There was going to be a mixture of subgenres. So, some medieval, some Regency, some Victorian, some 18th century thrown in there. That there was going to be a mix of authors and that they were going to have a mix of publication dates. So there was going to be some that were, from the early 90s, maybe even the 80s, and then some that were much, much more recent, just within the last few years. So, and that there was going to be no duplicates. So that was really what I knew about the box when I bought it, but I was really hoping that there was going to be some books that just looked really exciting or really interesting and cool to read that I may not have ordinarily picked out for myself in any other way. So, and I figured even if there were books that were kind of less interesting to me, personally as a reader, I really find that the more romance I read, kind of the more historical romance I read, the better off I am from a craft perspective, and kind of learning what works as far as tropes and story structure and things like that. So I got the mystery box, and I wanted to share with all of you the contents of the mystery box. Originally, the first video I made, that was an actual legitimate unboxing where I like cut open the box and it was all exciting. This, is a couple videos in. Unfortunately, I tried to maintain as much of the excitement as possible, but I'm definitely going to share with you what it is that I got in this box, because it is genuinely super exciting, I think. All right, just like the first time. All right, so this one, Seducing the Duke, is definitely, I gotta figure out where my camera is, definitely a more recent one. And the thing that I kind of like about this is that it's a Victorian romance, and the heroine is an American heiress who's going to marry a duke, a British duke. But she seems like she's a kind of like a Blue Stockings or like a more intellectual heroine, which I'm excited about. So this is definitely one that I'm excited to read. Oh, and my cats are going to be in this one. They're extremely excited that I'm on the floor this time. I'm like, the whole like box thing is really exciting for them. So yeah, this is definitely going in the I'm excited about reading it pile. All right. This is called Brazen. And I think this is also a more recent one. It definitely looks like it's a steamy romance. It seems to be pretty much Regency. Actually, I don't remember. Yes, it's a Regency. So, yeah. I mean, like, I wish I could say a little bit more about it, but it seems to be pretty kind of a typical modern Regency, which is like, there's nothing wrong with that. That's cool. So, and like I said, I think like taken from the clinch, and then also the title Brazen, that it's going to be more steamy, or at least I hope it is, you know, because that'll be fun. So this is definitely a slightly older one. This looks like it's from the 90s or very early 2000s. Yeah, it's from the 90s. I think it's so interesting. We actually were having a conversation about the whole like covers that don't involve clinches, or people that just have like a flower or a thistle or a gemstone or something about it. And kind of my hypothesis, they all seem to come from the same period. And my hypothesis was, I mean, maybe it's just the publishers being cheap, but my hypothesis was like, so, you know, the whole like stigma of reading romance novels, and so like when you have a cover that's like clinch, like romance, or is like a gown cover, like romance readers love that, but it is kind of a giveaway that this is a romance novel, especially with the clinch covers. So having one that's kind of like, you can't really tell from looking at this if this is a romance cover. I've also seen some like mysteries that have very similar design covers from this period. So this could be this tendency to have this cover design for this kind of popular cover design could be because of kind of wanting to not really disguise the fact that it is a romance novel, but maybe not like have that kind of so obviously the case. From the time, of course, before ebooks, where you only had to like carry it around and read a paperback. You didn't have the option of reading something on e-reader. Oh yeah. So this is also a really interesting one because it's a time travel romance, and I think that's super interesting because you just don't see many time travel romances anymore. like very obviously, like that was like a big subgenre in like the 90s, and like I don't even know if I've seen recently a historical romance come out that had like a time travel element. Although like maybe they could have more of a comeback because the whole like Highlander TV show.
Oh, yes.
It's like popular, so maybe there's a little bit of American sort of time travel, historical romance again. I don't know, but yeah, I just think it's just so interesting. I don't know if I'm into it. I kind of like my historical romances to be like historical romance. So Yeah, I'm super excited about this book. Like, really excited about this book because it's like actually a book by an author that I know and like am interested in reading, and also it's set in medieval China, and it's just like everything about this book is something that I want. So like, that's super exciting to me. Yeah, I'm stoked. This is like, yeah. I'm really stoked about getting this in this box. And I've not read it yet. I'm a little bit surprised at myself, but I haven't, so I own it now. Highland Spirit. I like how the special value is just like a part of this cover. It's like not like a sticker or anything, it's just like a design element, along with this tiny castle. That's all they did. They were like, that's enough. That's all you get.
That will draw you in.
Yes. For sure. Oh. Also, about this book, the heroine's name is Pinky.
Like Pinky and the Brain.
Which I just think is really, really, really unfortunate in so many different ways.
But
I think
it's,
I was
it's
like
Pinky short for
something. Yeah, because
right?
it's for Penelope. It's short for, like, why not just go with Penelope? Like, what's wrong with that? Why does she have to have a cutesy little nickname? And also, the thing that gets me about this, I have lots of feelings about this. The thing that gets me about this is it's like so infantilizing. Like, what grown woman goes by a nickname like Pinky? Like, when you could just go by Penelope. Like who does that? And I can imagine, like, the author was like, oh, it's gonna be cute, but like, don't do it. Don't do it. Someone should have said no. Oh, goodness gracious. So I think this is Scottish. I think this is a Scottish romance. But yeah, that just gets me every time. Okay, so this one is set in the 18th century, which I'm so excited about. And it's about a dashing Irish sea cat. Oh my goodness. But the main female character in this book is very wealthy. Very privileged. And the hero is, unless he turns out to be a secret duke in disguise, is not. And I'm really kind of interested in that because I know that we were just recently having a conversation in one of the groups that I belong to about more privileged and rich heroines with, excuse me, less privileged, more like working class heroes. So yeah, I'm actually really excited to read this one. Even though this blurb does contain the words, dashing Irish sea captain, Patrick Mulligan, knows women like he knows the sea. It's just like, it's just
maybe not very well. Maybe.
Oh god, so cheesy. Alright. But I am genuinely really interested in reading this one. Okay. So this one is a Viking romance, which I think is interesting. I psychic romances were like really popular for a while. I think like every once in a while you still see one, but they're definitely not kind of one of the big subgenres of historic romance. The main character of this one's name seems to be Dragon, which I don't know. Could work, could not work.
Really?
Yeah.
His name is Dragon?
Yeah. And he's brother to Lord Wolf and friends with Lord Hawk.
Alright.
But yeah, they just refer to him as Dragon throughout most of it.
He's not a lord?
He's Dragon Hecking's son. I'm assuming he is a lord, though. They just don't refer to him as one. They just refer to him as Dragon.
Okay.
Well, first name terms. And then there's a heroine in disguise. She's disguised as a boy on a run from something or someone. So yeah. So this is really interesting. This is like the only one in this box that is an alternative history. So it's a fantasy with it in a historical setting. And it's set in Victorian England. And the hero is a lion shifter. So we're gonna get over it. Which I don't know why I find it so funny. I just find it hilarious. I do. I just like think that's the funniest thing ever. But I am actually really excited to read this because alternative history and magic in Victorian England, and I like that. It's my thing. So yeah, it should be a good time. Even if the hero can shapeshift into a lion in Victorian England. Oh goodness. Gosh. Alright. Moving on. Okay, let's do Gambler's Gold. I really feel like this cover is like the stereotypical romance cover. I mean, this is like what people think of when they think of romance covers. It's covers like this. He's like semi-nude. She's like all over him at crotch level. There's a wagon in the distance.
There's a wagon?
There's a wagon. I didn't see that. That's a stagecoach.
Oh.
So, one of the things about this is while we think this is a Western set, historical, there's actually nothing that indicates the time period, either in the blurb or in like the first few pages. I'm just guessing that it's a Western. Because who knows really? Yeah, it's really even hard to tell from this. He's a Pinkerton, so has to be the United States, has to be the late 19th century, 1800s. So hey, Eva. But yeah, I mean, it's really hard. I really wish when people thought about blurb writing, they thought about indicating these things. Because really, when I pick up a book, I want to know what the time period is, especially if it's a historical, where the setting is, what country it's set in and stuff. And don't be vague about this. I don't. Maybe this is just me, but I don't actually want to know how passionate his kiss is great information after I know what day it's set and things like that. But maybe that's just me. Yeah. So here's another one that has kind of a non-explicit sex, a little bedazzled jewel bird. Oh, so this one has a ghost. As well as the dashing, elegant ghost who lives there. She just moved into a new house. But I don't think the ghost is the hero, because lingering to solve the mystery surrounding his death, the apparition appears to Maria or Mora for help in his desperate quest, and unknowingly leads her to Dolan Byrne, the extraordinarily handsome man who holds the long buried secret. So I think the historical romance element is the ghost, but he's not the hero. I think the hero is like an actual dude. So like no actual ghost sex. There's no. I mean or maybe because he is dashing and elegant. So but no, I think that it's like contemporary, but then there's like a history piece to piece with a ghost. Yeah. Okay, moving on. So this is in the same series as this. And this one I think is the second. I actually don't know what the order is.
The open.
Oh, this is the first. This is the second. And then there's a third. And so, 18th century, which is cool. I think the characters are English, but it's not set in England, which I think is, yes, this is set in the Barbados. So I think that's cool, actually, because a lot of times in historical romance, the characters are British, and like every once in a while they'll allude to traveling, but often the actual romance is set in England. And I think that's cool, but considering how much travel went on in the 18th and 19th centuries, I think it's always nice to see a romance that kind of is set somewhere else. So, Twilight Magic. So this is a medieval one, and the thing about this one is that the heroine has like a psychic gift that gives her visions of the man who once came to her in a vision, touching her body with his strong hands, piercing her desire. So yeah, she has, some visions. But the thing about it is that this is like one of a bunch that I've seen in historical or come across in historical romance where the heroine has like some kind of like psychic ability or like gets some kind of like premonitions or like mystical visions, and like it's a real trope. And I just don't know about it. Like I don't know. Like I'm all for fantasy with a historical setting or like paranormal with a historical setting, but like when that's the only thing that's just like thrown in there, I don't know. I just like my historical. Sometimes I just like my historicals to just like be historical, and not have any of this in it. And I don't know. I feel like it's very gender essentialist, and there's just like a whole bunch of stuff about it that I don't particularly like. It's all like, oh, women have mystical powers because they're more in line with the earth, and like spirituality, and like, and it's like, guys. All right, moving on. 7 Secrets of Seduction. So this is another Regency romance that has like more of a wallflower, blue stockings heroine, which I'm into. So I think that that's cool. And this is another one that I'm like looking forward to reading because of those elements. Yeah. Oh, this is a great one because of the cover. I like how this is like a flower, and then you like open it, and it's the clinch is inside, which is like my whole like quasi theory about like the whole like putting a flower or a jewel or a thistle on the cover, like a little bedazzled bird. Is about like making it kind of less obviously a romance than like you have that. But then you also have the clinch because romance readers really enjoy that. So I thought that was cool. As for the book itself, stolen at birth he's really a duke. Of course he is, because they always are. Yeah, I mean, that seems like, it's a historical romance. It's, Regency. It's doing its thing. It's got a lost duke. It's got a
When did that one come out?
heroine. This one came out, I'm gonna say the 90s and pretty early 2000s. Yeah, 1995.
So I think that's one of the older books.
Mm-hmm.
The box.
Yeah. Trouble with Moonlight. So this one is cool to me for a bunch of different reasons. One of which is because it is a Victorian. The second one is because it is about a spy. Actually, both of these characters are spies, both the heroine and the hero, and they're like trying to track down Russian spies, and it just seems all very cool to me. Oh, I didn't realize. She's inherited the ability to become invisible in the moonlight.
What?
At least part of the parts of her that are unclothed. Okay, that makes this a little less cool because of the whole thing that I've just been talking about like I sometimes just want historical to be historical. I think it would have been cooler without the supernatural element, but maybe it can still be cool in like a kind of all history, fantasy with a historical setting kind of a thing. That's what I get if you don't blur the whole way through. So this one is cool in that it is an American set. His romance that takes place in the 1850s, so before the Civil War, and the main character is in the Navy, the U.S. Navy, and he is an ex-Nantucket whaler. And I'm really excited about that because, I have a kind of interest in the Navy during this early pre-Civil War period. Yes, this is my other cat, who you haven't maybe seen as much of yet, making herself at home in my box of books. And also I'm really kind of interested in, like, whaling history. So yeah, I think this is one I'm excited about reading because I think that that's just like some cool, different kinds of things. All right, Stealing Midnight. Yeah, Stealing Midnight. So this is a very gothic-y one, which I think is kind of cool. you know, it's a Regency that has like a strong Gothic tone, which I respect that. What? Mist, and it has a thistle, and it is a Scottish romance because, like, when you only give us a thistle, you better be a Scottish side romance. Governess, you know. So. This one has a tooth and a cape on it. I don't know if you can feast your eyes fully on this cover model, but he's wearing a cape. He's shirtless, but he's wearing a cape, and he also has what looks to me like a weightlifting belt on. Like it's just giant ass, like statement belt. But this book is actually a compilation of short stories by a bunch of different authors, all set in New Orleans, and it seems to have like a whole like Southern Gothic and race thing going on. And I'm really hoping it's good because I know that like historical romance set in the South can either be like, you know, perfectly decent or really, 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 really problematic. So I'm really, really fingers crossed.
Hoping this is a good one.
Yes, hoping this is a good one. When a lady misbehaves. An erotic secret. A scandalous embrace. So this is a Regency romance. It's pretty new. It's like 2007. So, you know, not the newest in here, but not the oldest. This one is very obviously a Scottish romance. It has a dude in a kilt on it. She's a comely vixen. Treasure map.
What?
Treasure map one.
Yeah.
That just become an ingrained thing. So I swear to God, the first couple times I read this blurb, there's a phrase in here where it's talking about his treasure map and how she's like, and the first couple times I read it, I just like, my brain just like assumed his treasure map was like a euphemism. At this point, I literally can't read this blurb without being like, his treasure map, you know, like, wait, no, actually, it's a literal treasure map. And she literally takes. Like, I don't know why I always go there, but like, I always go there.
Oh dear.
Oh, we've done this so many times.
And it always comes out.
It always does.
But you know what? It's great. I can't wait for you to read that.
Good thing mentions some treasure math all over the place. It's gonna be great. Alright. So this is a medieval one, and I think that it's one of the series.
Oh, right there.
So these are both in the same series, and they're both medieval romances. I'm not as into medieval romances, so they're not as exciting for me, but like, you know, it's definitely one of those areas that I can really enjoy. So these are both like kind of late medieval. You can see kind of like even Elizabethan, even late for that. But yeah, I mean, this one exciting for me because the hero is a dandy. He's like that, like they set us right on here that he's like, and he's a spy. He's a dandy spy, and his foppish demeanor hides a keen mind and steel resolve. He's also like well chiseled, like make sure that we like know that we're not like talking about like super effeminate kind of character because like you'd want one of them as a hero for a romance novel. But I got super excited about this because I thought it was set in the 18th century when I first picked it up, and I was like, yes, you know, like this is my all my Scarlet Pimpernel dreams coming true. But no, it's a Regency, but I'm still super excited about it because you know, dandy spy hero, what's there not to like? So. This one is also Regency. It's kind of interesting because it looks like the heroine is kind of like a journalist, or at least she's a writer. She like kind of does like scandal sheets, which is, you know, kind of interesting. So this one, this bedazzled cover with this nice jewel on it, is a Regency. See, I'm gonna say that a lot. Yeah, I mean, this seems to be pretty much like by the numbers Regency. So it's definitely one of the older books that you can tell, like, because of the jeweled cover. But it is 1998, so yeah, actually pretty kind of middle of the road, I think. This one is, she's an innkeeper, and the hero is on the run from redcoats. I think this is set in Scotland, maybe Ireland, maybe. It doesn't actually say when, like in any of the stuff I've been reading. Like not in the blurb, not in the like the first chapter or so. But I would say probably the late 18th century or late 19th century. But I do think it's kind of cool that there are not like dukes and heiresses and things like that. So I'm, you know, interested in that. So this is the other one in the series that I've been talking about, the 18th century series that we've gotten. There was 3 of them. And this one is set in Venice, which I think is awesome. The only thing that kind of like gets me about this one, this is the 3rd one, is that there are certain kind of languages used in the blurb that make me think that there's sexual assault is like at least the backstory for the heroine, which I'm not a huge fan of. It's just not something that I prefer to read. So the other 2 books in this series look really good, and I'll probably eventually read this one too. But I'm just like a little bit like, yeah, it's just not something that I'm okay with. So this is it a Regency? It's a governess, or maybe she's a tutor. No, I think she's a governess. And is it a Regency? Yes, it's a Regency. Governess Regency. Could be good, could be better numbers, you can say, not until I read it. This is kind of interesting. This is a medieval set romance. And the interesting part of this is that he's a Norman lord and she's a Saxon countess. And evidently William the Conqueror is in it. So, you know, sounds kind of cool, actually. This is not a period that I know particularly a lot about. So, in some ways, that might actually work in this book's favor. This book No, we're gonna wait to talk about this one. This is a special book. We're waiting on that one. This is this thistle book. Another cover with the thistle. See, it's because the ones that are in the inside have so much like nicer covers. Like all three of these books that are advertised on the inside of this book have like these super classic kind of clinch covers. And this one is like a bouquet of thistles. So this is of course a Scottish one. She's a lady robbed of her birthright. So, yeah. White Knight. And it has a dove on it. Because he doesn't like doves on the cover of their romance novels. It's actually really, really hard reading this blurb to tell if this is like Regency or if this is like a medieval. It's a Regency. But like, yeah, it's just got a dove on the cover, and it even looks like it's coming through the window of like a castle, and this little window here, or like a church. Who knows? Publishers have got to be better about like indicating what time period books are set in, like right on the long thing, because if one thing of going through all these books has proven anything, is that they're really not that great about it. So this is another one of where the main character has like a mystical power, where she can see the future, or has like premonitions or visions or whatever. But I am kind of interested in it because, first of all, I do kind of like this cover. I'm a sucker for covers that kind of look like this. This is a cover type that is not as common anymore, but I like always really liked in the 90s when I read books like this. This was has a nostalgic appeal for me. But I also like this because the hero is a secret agent guarding Queen Victoria, which I just think is like really cool. Like that's just awesome. I just like that. I like kind of wish that I'd written a book where that was the case. Yes. So I'm a little bit like, I don't really like heroines with like mystical powers in my historicals, but the hero sounds cool. Alright, so let's talk about this one. So this book is stumps us a little bit. We have read part of this book already, out of curiosity. It is a weird ride. I think that's an accurate summary of our experience.
There's an angel.
Yeah,
She dies because an angel.
There's kind of a sensual and or erotic description of a pie case. Yep. There's just all sorts of things about this book. But as far as we can tell, this is not actually a historical. It's just like a really weird romance novel.
It's a bonus book.
So this is our bonus book. A most scandalous proposal. She's forsworn love. But she's going to be married off to an earl. Yeah, it just seems like it's a Regency. You know, it looks like it's gonna be a fun time. Seducing the governess. So this is a governess romance. I think it's also a Regency. Taking position at a crumbling manor. Breathtaking kiss under the stars. So yeah, I mean, if you like reading governess, Regency romances. I think that this is going to be. Again, I think much like I said about the last one, to me, the blurb doesn't present it as anything extraordinary. Maybe it is, but like that's not the way that it's being presented. But like sometimes what you want to read is a kind of a light by the numbers Regency. So there you go. This one is probably, I don't know what's the due date. 1993. So this I think is actually the oldest one I got.
Mm-hmm.
And it is a time travel. It's another time travel one. Yeah, which I just think is so, just the whole premise of it is like such a thing that doesn't really happen anymore. I don't know. Yeah. My noble knight is, of course, I say of course, it's I'm really hoping it's a medieval. Yes, it's a medieval. But it does say that the hero rescues the heroine from a near rape, which is obviously not my thing. And to put it in mild terms. So I'm a little bit disappointed about that. Yeah, I think that this is just not going to be my book. So, and then finally, last but not least, perhaps the greatest book I got in this box.
His Every Kiss. Dun, dun, dun.
So first of all, this, I don't know if you can clearly see, this has a ghost man on the front cover. And you're like, what is this ghost man with some flowers doing on the front cover of my romance novel? And then you turn it around and his back cover is this clinch. And the blurb is a 1 sentence long. I'm going to read it to you. She must resist the attentions of a shameless rogue, even if she desires more than anything the pleasure of his kiss. Really, that's all you need to know about this book. It's just like there are rogues, there are kisses, there's pleasure, shamelessness. Somebody's using female pronouns. I think we've really pumped the depths of all the information they've given us.
Yep. That's about it.
She must resist.
We don't know her name. She.
Who knows, really? Really? Who knows? Goodness, this is 2004, so it's not that old. From Avon. Guys should know better. Like, I do get that this is by, like, a best-selling author, so the assumption is, like, a lot of people are going to be picking it up based on her name value, but still, there is a little bit more of a description in the inside, but really, like, no back info at all, except for this? Seriously? Like, and what is the ghost man on the cover? What is this? What are you doing? Who knows? Maybe this was a brilliant marketing strategy, but like, really? Really? Alright. So, for the third time, I wish it was the second, but the third time, that was my mystery box. and all of the books that it contained. I'm actually really, really happy. I was kind of dreading there being some like really racist ones. You know, I know that like I don't even know what it's called. Is it called like native? Is like a whole subgenre of historical romance that's like just on the whole like noble savage portrayals. That's not great. You know, obviously there's the whole antebellum southern set plantation set romances. I was really kind of like, oh god, oh my god, what if I get that? You know, so like there was a lot of, or just like some romances where I was just going to have to go through book after book and be like, no, not for me, not for me, not for me. And actually, I got a bunch of books in this box that I'm really looking forward to. A bunch of books that, like I had hoped, I wouldn't normally have picked up, but because they came in the box, I actually ended up reading the backs, or like I'll probably read them because I own them now. So yeah, so I'm actually really excited about this, and I think that it was 100% worth what I paid for it. And I hope that
And you got bonus books.
And we got that. I got bonus books, and you know, I think that hopefully the video was entertaining. Whatever version you guys end up watching. My cats love the box, so no, I think it was really a satisfying experience.
I think it was good. Bye.